SuperSorrell thrive. With action figures from every age, join us now, turn the page. From the big screen to the small, it's Geek Week, the podcast of the year. Join the fun with laughter and cheer. Toys collecting and tales from the past. Tune in now, the good times will last.
We dive into movies that make us dream, with memories like a childhood theme. TV shows that caught our eyes, let's collect the moments and rise.
Like, share, subscribe, don't miss out. It's Geek Week, the podcast of the year. Join the fun with laughter and cheer. Toys collecting and tales from the past. Tune in now, the good times will last.
Like, share, subscribe, don't miss out.
Hello and welcome back to the Geek Week, episode 181 with me, Jacob's Toys, and of course the wonderful one and only SuperSorrell. Thanks very much for tuning in. Episode 181. We do appreciate you guys in. Bethany Beth just said, just dancing to the intro. Yeah, we love that new intro. If you are watching along live, make sure you do comment along and join in the conversation. But if you're watching it on catch up, and we know a lot of you do, Sorrel, what do I need to put?
Hashtag catch up crew.
There we go. And there's quite a few people in that catch up crew. Like, I'm seeing that hashtag used, which is good, which is cool. We do appreciate it. We try to get to the comments and obviously respond to you and stuff. But yeah, keep using that hashtag. Keep watching outside of the live stream and join in. But if you can, join us live and join in with the comments like a lot of you are. Just jump into a few of the comments. People give some shout outs. We've got John Hood, Andy Roberts, Josh Boy Toys, Joby One's in the chat. Good to see you, Joby One. He said, I made it to the live stream. Hope everyone is doing well. Much love and may the force be with you. Yes, Bethany Beth, of course, is there as well. And we'll get to the rest of you as the show goes on. But yeah, how's your week, Sorrel? How's it been?
Been good. It's been busy, but it's been good.
All right, it's leading up to Christmas.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, I ridiculously tried to go out shopping on Saturday. No.
Really? See, what time did you go out though? How early did you brave the shops?
Oh, mate, I always go out early. So I go out. We always go early, get breakfast, then do the shops as they're opening. So we're there like an hour before the shops even open usually.
Oh wow!
I've got obviously I need a disabled bay, and I've got my scooter and stuff. It's like a big shopping mall, so I can't really walk around it. So I have to get there early just to get a bay, to be honest. But we normally have breakfast to make it like a family day out and stuff. But yeah, this was at Sheffield Meadow Hall. They call it Meadow Hell this time of year, not Meadow Hall, and it was hell on earth. It was hell on earth.
Oh mate, see, I went out Saturday as well, not to Christmas shop, but me and my daughter went out. We had a few things to get done. And we went out quite early and kind of somehow beat the kind of rush of traffic. So I went straight in, found a parking space straight away. We did what we needed to do. And then by the time we were leaving, it was like pandemonium, like everything was kicking off. So yeah, I don't brave. But the one thing I did notice this year, and I don't know whether it's this year or just I've noticed it more, but there didn't seem to be as many people kind of brick and mortar shopping as there have been previous years where I am.
Oh, okay.
It was, I don't know, like the shops had stuff, but it just didn't, none of it kind of grabbed my attention. And then you've got, like, if we're talking geeky stuff, there's some shops that have like the Marvel helmets and the Star Wars helmets and stuff, and they're just ridiculously overpriced. And I'm like, that one's 50 quid on this website, that one's reduced to 100 quid on that website. Like, how are you doing this? But yeah, Christmas is always a weird time for me because I've said this before, but I don't really get any of my collecting stuff at Christmas. Like occasionally a book or a comic or something like that. I have put on my list this year that I wanted the new Marvel versus Capcom game.
Okay.
So, but that's not really collecting, that's a bit more gamey like. But yeah, so there we go. But yeah, it's been an eventful week. But yeah.
People are gonna see it on tomorrow's video, but just for those that are here tonight, as a little preview, I'll put it this way. It's been said over the years that I like to go shopping, but when I go shopping, I go hard.
You
know
go
what I
in
mean?
hard. Let's be honest. You clear up. Let's.
Well, I emptied my Smith's bag this month because I said, didn't I? I want to go into the new year with no backlog of toys to review. I want to enter the new year and buy all new toys in the new year. Yeah, that lasted all of a day, and this is now full to the brim yet again.
Nice.
So, and as you and Ryan always wound me up, I've just got SuperSorrell loves a good blind bag. You know, I mean, there's loads of them.
I have no problem with blind bags. I think they're amazing. I do like them. I think we're a little bit oversaturated now. Like there are so many that you've really got. I feel sorry for like the kids that are going for them because some of them are really, really good and some of them are rubbish. There's a lot of toys. Go on.
I say you've got to look out for the companies. If it's by Funko or if it's by Fat Mojo, it's going to be decent. When you start seeing PMI toys, I'm sorry to say, but they are naff. Yeah. And there are some that are subpar quality. Yeah, I'll give you that. There is a lot of them.
And there's also what I've noticed. I don't know whether it's this year or whether I've just noticed it this year, but there's a lot of like things posing as blind bags. So they look very much like they're surprise eggs or they're surprise bags and stuff, and they're not. They're kind of like stickers and books and stuff, and it's kind of like that's a bit rubbish. Like,
well, speaking of blind bags, I've got some. I went to the Lego store on Saturday, and they did give me some news. That was very lackluster. They did share with me some news on January 1st. The brand new Lego minifigures will be available New Year's Day.
Oh, wicked.
And the Lego stores will have them January 1st. They can't guarantee Smiths and that'll have them because obviously they don't know when their deliveries are over New Year and Christmas. But Lego stores already have the minifigures in their back now. Because the guy at my store was like, he's like, Sorrell, I wish I could sell you them now, mate. But he says, we've got them in the back. We just can't physically put them through the till until January 1st.
Wow.
So they already have them. So they're in stock, ready to go. So me and Miss SuperSorrell are going to brave it on New Year's Day. We're going to brave it early morning and go and grab some.
And this is wave 35, is it?
Yeah, it's the one with there's like a character called like the Boogeyman or something. We did look it up last week. There were some really cool ones. Yeah, there's some cool ones in this set. So it's going to be worth picking some up.
Yeah, no, wicked. That is wicked. Just quickly jumping into the comments that Shelley said that she doesn't like shopping in shops. I'm like you, I can get that. I can get that cheaper online. Yep, it's a lot of people nowadays. Joby1 said it's great to scoop up a fig on the shelves, but being a Black Series collector, a lot of the ones I want are fan channel exclusives here in the States.
Yeah,
which is another thing. Yeah. Interestingly, I was talking because I went to that Transformers store opening, didn't I? And that seems like a reason I bring it up is because I was talking to a couple of people on the channels and stuff, and I was really surprised with the lack of kind of collectibles that were in there, like kind of not action figures as such. They had a few action figures, but it seemed like a lot more merch. And it was only when somebody asked me, you know, have they got this particular figure or did they have this particular series and stuff? And I was like, actually, no, they didn't. They had a lot of kind of stuff, but not stuff for like somebody like ourselves that would go to a Transformers store to pick up a Transformers figure, like, you know, or a collectible. And it was like, actually, I've seen more kind of action, like Transformer action figures on the B&M shelves than I have in the actual Transformers store, which I think sort of says a lot that, you know, if a particular store opens up, I mean, it's a great store, don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking it, but if a store opens up, it was definitely aimed more at the kind of casual shoppers that will go by and go, oh, I like Transformers. Oh, look, cool, I'll grab this t-shirt and this comic. Like, brilliant, happy days. But for the collectors, there wasn't the stuff, which I think is a missed opportunity because, you know, empty those warehouses.
Yeah, comics are what, £3-4 a piece. Pop vinyls are between 10 and 20. Your action figures, though, especially Transformers, you're looking upwards of 20, 30, 40, even 60. Yeah. I don't think that shop was ever meant to be a collector's store. It's definitely a pop-up store, and it's like one of those, it's like what Disney do occasionally. It's like one of these fancy, random pop-up stores that's just to sell merch.
Yeah.
Like just generic merch. That's probably why they probably had loads of them, like blockies, because they're about 15 quid. They'll probably have loads of those, and like the Super 7 card-backed figures. Because it's the same when you go to Universal Studios. You'd think, being in Universal Studios, the home of Transformers, really, that they'd have a mass of Hasbro products on the shelf, and they really don't. It's all pop vinyls and
Yeah.
key rings and blind bags, and because that's what the kids buy.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. We had one of them pop up Disney stores in our like city centre, and it popped up like, and it said on the front like Disney pop up, and it was there for like 5 years.
Mm.
It was like it was a long old pop up, like that's that's popping up for a long
There's
time. But we
there's
were all really
rumours.
annoyed when it went. Like,
There's rumors that we're meant to be getting Funko London opening soon. Like apparently they've got some real estate in London, and apparently they are progressing with that. So hopefully that should be this next year or so.
that's cool.
I'm excited for that. So obviously there's
very
big
cool.
one. There's a big one in New York. There's a few in the States, but there's none in England yet.
No. Bethany Beth have said, have you both ever been to an Argos clearance warehouse? No.
No.
But I'm going to put that on my list, because if it's something worth commenting about, then it's like worth looking into.
There's a retail outlet near me that deals with catalog returns, as they call it, if that's what that is. But basically they deal with like, because like they get stuff, you know, when you return something to Disney Store, and if you're like a serious inbox collector, and something's arrived and it's got a dent in the box, you send it back and Disney send you a new one out. This like warehouse gets these kind of things. I think that's probably what she's referring to, because there is one near me, and I've been to it loads of times. So like you can get like the lightsabers, and there's like a slight dent in the box. There's nothing wrong with the saber itself, and but they have to knock like 30% off the like retail price.
Yeah, because
they are worth going to.
Boxes and stuff. Yeah. Speaking of Funkos, have you seen the Ghostbuster ones that have been announced?
The real Ghostbusters ones. Oh yeah, I'm waiting for those bad boys.
I'm just trying to look them up now. Shout out to Bethany Beth, because she sent me the link for them. But they look wicked. I'm just looking at them now. Like, they look really cool. So you got obviously all 4 of the characters. Ray, Winston, and Egon all come as they are. But then Peter comes with Slimer. So you get like a little mini kind of Funko Slimer as well. But yeah, they're cool. I mean, they're retailing at $12.99, like $12.99 each. So if you're a Ghostbusters fan, you can, you know, for less than $50, you can pick up the whole 4. So I do see the appeal of Funko now. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to kind of go heavy into Funko as a collector. I like the odd one here and there, but I can see the appeal, because okay, let's take it as a Ghostbusters fan. Okay, so you're looking to, even just a casual fan, you're looking to kind of represent Ghostbusters on your shelf. Plasma series, you're looking at £25 a figure if you can get all 4 of the original ones. The other brands, like the 1/6 scale, you're looking at hundreds per figure. The other kind of 6-7 inch brands that are out there, you're looking at again $25 to $35 a piece upwards. And then the other real Ghostbusters ones that we had were obviously the Diamond Select ones back when they had the license, which were beautiful, that are now on the aftermarket at ridiculous prices. So I can see the attraction.
I've got a Golden Freddy from when it was the first ever Golden Freddy release. It was a New York Comic Con exclusive from about 2017, 18. I've still got it. It's in a pot protector. It goes for like 600 quid online now.
Wow.
So, but you know, you're saying you do this where you sort of go, I'm not gonna go all hard on Funko, but I like the look of some. I guarantee if I show these particular Funkos, I think you as a Jurassic Park fan will go, ooh. Are you ready?
Go on then.
Check these bad boys out.
Are you on a computer?
Yeah.
You got a new computer up.
Well, it's not the best computer in the world, but it works.
We got slides again. Oh, mate. See, they're the type of Funko that they're cool.
So this is just a set of 4, and it's called the Hatchlings. Yeah, they're called Hatchlings. So they're all baby dinosaurs from Jurassic Park. And these are all dinosaurs that featured in Jurassic Park, the first trilogy of films. And they look pretty awesome. Funko did not Funko. The little eggs, them little green eggs, you got them a while back in like Morrison's. They were called and they were hatchlings, like baby dinosaurs. But Funko have now got the license for the Hatchlings, so I think they're going to go full on with the mystery minis and the Funkos and the. That's
really cool. But they are cool. They are like those I like. Like my favorite pop that I have, and I don't even know where. I'll say she because it's got a woman's name, but my Audrey too, and it's kind of like as a sort of a 6-inch representation of Little Shop of Horrors. Like you can stand that next to a 6-inch figure, and it looks like a decent sized Audrey too. And because of the kind of cartooniness of the design, it kind of works. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, when that Tully figure comes in, pop the little head off, put that on a super body. There you go. We got a Little Shop of Horrors, like you know. Thing. Just going back to the Ghostbuster Funkos, Bethany Bev said, just waiting for a UK site to get them. Yes, at the moment you can get them on Big Bad Toy Store and various US sites, but obviously they've not popped up on a UK site.
Have they not appeared on FunkoEurope.com yet? Because a lot of people don't know that exists. By the way, there is FunkoEurope.com, which is Funko Direct. We can order direct from Funko in the UK.
I haven't.
You don't have to wait for Smiths. So FunkoEurope.com. If you go on there, you can look at every new release and set reminders for when they're coming out. You can even do pre-orders and stuff.
There you go. Bethany Beth said they are on there. There we go. Case closed. There you go. That was 20 minutes worth of talking time, Bethany Beth, and you've just thank you. There you go. 20 minutes of the show. Now we got to fill it with other stuff. No, I'm only joking. No, so that's cool. Like I said, I just never got into it. Like no, I think it's because I collected action figures. They just didn't really fit with my collection. So
now more than ever, Funko fits with my display. Now more than ever, 90% of my display is now Funko.
Yeah. Like I said, I really don't have anything against Funko, and I totally see the collectability, and I think that the cool thing about them is that they have that collectability element to them. So there's obviously chases, there's obviously rare ones, they're numbered, they're all those kind of things. So yeah, as a collector, I'm just shocked that I didn't get into them the way I did.
Yeah, let me show you this one. Hang on.
Oh, Obi-Wan said, I have a few normal size pops, but I really like the bitty pops. You know what? Actually, I've got loads of those bitty pops.
You know those?
I have got loads of those bitty pops.
Like, I love the bitty pops.
There's me saying I didn't have many. I actually have quite a few of those, but only because I pick them up in like clearance and stuff. So like the turtle ones, for example, they were all in clearance in like supermarkets and stuff for like £1 or something stupid like that. So I have got quite a few of those. I don't actually know where they are, but I have got them somewhere.
You know the Funko Ben Coopers? The Ben Cooper sort of designed like neckers and stuff. And then we kind of got the Funkos where they kind of looked like that. Well, now they've gone one step further, and Freddie Funko himself, this is the Funko mascot, is now wearing the costumes with the masks.
That's quite cool.
And these you can get these online for £5.
Yeah. So I get how they fit with your collection.
Oh yeah.
I'm just going to address really quickly because it keeps popping up. I have hurt my thumb. Like I've cut my thumb in half. Like I just keep seeing it pop up every now and again. I don't want people to think this ain't weird. Like my thumb is all bandaged up. I've been to the hospital. I've cut it in half. Like it's gross. Sorrell's seen the pictures. It's gross. It's like proper Terrifier 3 cut in half. But there we go. So if you just see this little white kind of like fin popping up, it's my big Mr. Bump like bandage. There we go. But no, I think that talking about Funkos kind of brings us on a little bit to our theme. So I do kind of want to circle back to this as well. So let's put a pin in this one for a sec.
Okay.
Skeleton Crew came out this week.
Yeah.
How good was that?
I've just literally finished it like half an hour ago because Shelley messaged me earlier this evening. She's now back from Orlando. She messaged me and said, "How have you not watched this yet?" So I sat down and watched it before the show. And no, I was really impressed with that. That was good.
I thought it was fantastic. It was the least Star Wars like Star Wars thing that I've seen in years, and it just I was captivated from the beginning. Like just right from the off, I was locked in. And obviously, we're going to kind of unpick more of a Star Wars themed story because we've started seeing like a Force user and stuff and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I was just, and I don't know whether it's the kind of the 80s kid in me that it was Goonies, it was Scooby-Doo, it was all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? It really was, wasn't it? And I know that we joked that, it was Goonies in space, but it really was Goonies in space. Annie Roberts said, was it only me that thought it reminded them of the Goonies? No, 100%, mate. Goonies in space.
I honestly thought, how are they going to do pirates in space? But nope, I'm all in. I'm all in on this pirate thing.
You know what? But I thought the pirates thing was brilliant because it's something that's not really. I mean, I know in Clone Wars and Rebels and that kind of stuff, we saw like, you know, the Hondus and stuff like that, like the kind of pirate-esque characters. But it really worked. Like, you know, when you have a fall of some kind of power and the rise of another, like you do get these pirates that come in and stuff, and it just, I just thought it worked. Like it really worked. And seeing in the opening scene in that first episode where like they board the ship like proper old school pirate style, I just thought, yeah, this is brilliant. And even down to, like, I'm going to jump around, but even down to the droid that had like the what would have been like the wooden leg kind of thing that he's like hobbling along, and he looked like a Long John Silver kind of character, like his accent, his walk. It was brilliant. I just thought it was so well done, and I hope that they don't go too far Star Warsy with it, if that makes sense.
You get the nod of his name though, right? The droid. Did you pick up on that?
No, I might miss that one.
So his designation is SM-33 Smee. He is Smee.
Ah, I like it.
Yeah, there's loads of nods. Like Shelley's comment there says, there's so many nods. Like there's a scene where the kids are in the jail and they're trying to get the key, and they literally recreate Pirates of the Caribbean. Yeah, there's so many references in this. It is insane.
Yeah. It was just, but I do like the kind of underpinned story of this planet being one that's like not on the map kind of thing.
But they also reference the planet from Andor. They also reference the planet from Mando. This is also set during the time of Mando, or just before it, maybe, because it's set because you saw that thing at the beginning, that tagline about the New Republic and on the blue writing. That is the same as Ahsoka, so it's set during that timeline. So this could tie in with everything else that they're doing at the moment. This isn't set thousands of years or anything. This is like at the current Mandalorian timeline peak, because we obviously had that character as well from Mando in it, the pirate at the very beginning with the spiky head thing.
Oh yes, yeah.
He's from Mando.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to kind of tie it into what else is going on, or at least have the ability to tie it in.
Yeah, Vane. That's a Vane. And of course, they some of these pirates were we saw pirates in Mando because Mando scared them off, didn't he? They kind of like took off into hyperspace. So we have sort of seen pirates in this era, and obviously pirates then fit in with the Mando's kind of like Western sort of appeal. So I'm looking forward to where they go with this.
Yeah, I just thought it's done really well, and it just shows that you can take characters that you've never met that have nothing to do with anything else in the kind of franchise and create a really good story around them. And I think that's one of the reasons why so many people are captivated by it, because it really feels like something fresh. Like there's no tie-in. Like it's not like there's not a character that we're like, oh, that person's going to cameo. Do you know what I mean? It's whereas all the other stuff feels very much like, oh, is so-and-so going to turn up? Or, you know, does this lead into this and that and all the rest of it? Whereas this feels a lot more standalone. Like there is options to tie into other stuff, but it feels a lot more standalone.
Yeah, as Shelley said as well, Mando may make an appearance because his helmet is featured in the intro. So there is an opportunity that a Mandalorian or a Mandalorian is going to show up, which would be pretty cool.
Obi-Wan's hit it though. If anyone showed up, I'd like Hondo to show up.
Yes, this is the perfect opportunity for Hondo, with him being with it all about pirates.
Yeah. Triple G's in the chat as well. All right, mate. I enjoyed it. Felt different to the norm for Star Wars, which totally agree with. I would like to see Hondo. Hondo. Have we seen him in live action?
No.
We haven't,
He's been referenced. He's not been featured yet, I don't think.
But he's at
Galaxy's Edge. So we have seen him in. They have made him in live action for the pre-show of the Star Wars ride, the Millennium Falcon. Because basically Hondo tells you as the guest to steal the Millennium Falcon to do a mission for him.
That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, and they did use a live action actor for that, which it proves it can be done because it looks good. But one thing I love,
they've got the mold and everything for the prosthetics and everything. Do you know what I mean? They've done it. The money's been spent.
Do you not think though? Because just to tear this apart, like Shelley's just saying, Jude Law is the pirate at the beginning, clearly, and there's a mutiny, and they throw him in the cells, and that's why he's in the cell when we find him later on.
Yeah.
Do you not think that's too easy? Do you not think that's too? If they were going to say that is Jude Law, would they not have just shown his face in the beginning? Why the helmet? Doesn't make sense. Something else is under there. Something else is. I think this could be part of the cloning thing, the cloning saga and like Force users and stuff. Because obviously the Empire are trying to kidnap Grogu. They're working on cloning Jedi and things like or Force users. So I'm wondering whether this could be that, and the pirate captain has been cloned, and Jude Law is the clone of him because he's escaped from the Empire or something. That would be pretty cool.
I would be mad.
It could almost be like like a Man in the Iron Mask thing. I was thinking of maybe that in reverse kind of thing. Maybe at the end of this, we're gonna free Jude Law's character and put him in the mask and shove the other guy in the hold, and the good guy wins out, kind of thing.
I like that. I do like that. So
and that's how they would tie it to the Mandalorian universe. Then it wouldn't be directly like in your face, but it would be part of the story, like overall.
Yeah. But yeah. She's obviously said that it's obvious that Jude Law is the pirate at the beginning. It sounded like Jude Law, but I also think that cloning is part of the story. There's a lot of debate going on the internet about whether that is Jude Law, but that's his voice, 100%. And the costume is very similar to some of the kind of shots that we've seen, like the press shots and stuff. Like he's got a weapon hanging off of his belt in the same place and all that kind of stuff. So there is no doubt that those two characters are one and the same. But I think what you're saying there about cloning would make it a much better story than it just being he was a bad guy, now he's a good guy. Because if he was a Force user and he was a captain pirate or pirate captain, you would have seen him using that in that scene. Like, why would you not use that if that was your way of life? So I don't think it's as simple as he's got caught or got the mutiny or anything like that. I think what you're saying there about the cloning might actually be a really good. Yeah, I like that idea.
I'm wondering as well. My only other thing on this is, I don't as much as people are saying Mando might turn up. I don't think he will, but I think we might see an early baby Grogu, because I'm wondering whether this is. I'm hoping this all predates the Mandalorian. And this is basically a new beginning for that chapter. And we're going to see how baby Grogu got to where he is before the Mando finds him. Like how he ended up in Empire's hands or something. That would be a cool... Because obviously them kids in space, if having Grogu attached to them as a Force-using child would make sense. Yeah. They're going to save another child because they're kids themselves. They would feel obligated to save the other kid.
Yeah. Speaking of children, JBN said, protect Neil at all costs.
He's amazing.
Surround that little elephant cherub. he was a standout character. I just love he just reminded me of when you look at the Goonies, he was like the little odd fat kid that just couldn't. It really was. And I was like, the fact that they've done that with an alien character, like, I really like what's the girl with a visor? ER or
Neil?
Like
no, Neil's the captain, isn't she?
Yeah, no, and I'm sure her name's 2 letters, but because obviously when we saw her, and obviously the Black Series figure as well, like it's the visor's down, very much like the character KB. Thank you, JB1. Very much like what's his name in Star Trek.
Yeah.
But obviously the fact that she flips it up and she plugs into stuff, it's a really cool gadget, like that we haven't seen, which I thought was smart as well. But yeah, no, I'm really enjoying it. I'm really looking forward to that next episode, which is good. Joe Grant, I got you, man. I got you. Thanks very much, man. But yeah, it was. Anything else you want to say on that before we move?
No, I've really enjoyed it. It is a breath of fresh air for Star Wars. It has got me quite excited about Star Wars again. It piqued my interest, let's put it that way, and let's just see where it goes.
Definitely.
Star Wars for me definitely is now about moving forward, not backwards. So I'm all in on the whole Mandalorian story, Ahsoka, and the future of Rebels, and see where we go with that storyline. I'm not interested in previous Skywalker crap now. I want to
No.
move forward in the timeline, not backwards.
The Skywalker saga and everything should be historical Star Wars. Like it should be a chapter of Star Wars from before. Like that's what it is. We don't need any more. We've seen the kids, seen their story. We've then gone back and seen the dad story, like, and the mum story. You know, we don't need. We then seen like the next generation of Skywalker. Like, we don't need it. That's the 3 generations of Skywalkers we've seen. Like, let's have something new.
My hopes as well. If I am right and this does predate Mandalorian by a little bit, that would also give them time to let the kids grow up and become future Star Wars adventure characters going forward. You've just introduced 4 brand new characters, very likable. Imagine what they could become in years to come. You know what I mean? With the Star Wars franchise, they'll grow along with it. So I'm all for that.
And that works. You only got to look at like the Stranger Things cast, like how well that works.
Yeah.
I just, similar to what they done with kind of like Miles Morales and that with Spider-Man, like, and introduced us to a new, like, and Marvel literally took the same character and made him different. Like he's still called Spider-Man and gave the next generation their Spider-Man. They need to do that with Star Wars. Like, I want my kids, like, it's still about Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, and you know, yes, the Mandalorian is there, but it's all tied in with that Skywalker saga because of obviously the links they made in the series and stuff. So I kind of want them to have their own journey with Star Wars. So yeah, I completely agree. Let's have the next generation kind of coming through.
Well, it's funny you should mention Spider-Man, because did you see what Tom Holland was saying this week
about?
So Tom Holland was on a chat show and he basically said he would love to do for a young kid what Robert Downey did for him, and he would love to introduce Miles Morales to the universe.
Yeah,
and I think that's beautiful. I think that's a great way of doing it. Yeah. Having him pop up in a Tom Holland Spider-Man movie, then letting Tom Holland's character do something else and bow out for a while, and let the new Spider-Man take the reins. With that, then you wouldn't have to change the title. It wouldn't have to be Miles Morales Spider-Man. It would just be Spider-Man. Yeah. And then Tom Holland just bows out. He's made 4 movies. It's time for him to move on, kind of thing, or do something different.
No, just then recast him as a villain in the next film. That's not like what they did with Robert Downey. No, I agree. I completely agree. And the thing is we've already met Aaron technically in that first Spider-Man, and he's mentioned his nephew and stuff, like, so it's all kind of there. Josh Boy Toy said, did you see the new Spider-Man figures Hasbro announced? Yes, we did. We're going to get onto that when we talk about our Marvel Star Wars fatigue. One other thing as well that happened this week is that the Ghostbusters HasLab fully funded.
Yeah,
fully funded. So they needed 12,000 backers. They were sitting on about 11,500 sort of in that last few hours, and then it just skyrocketed to about 17,500 backers, which still make it quite an exclusive kit. You know, there's less than 18,000. Hang on, no, just over 17,000. So 17,251 to be precise was the exact figure it ended on. So yeah, so all those people that backed it, you'll be getting an Ecto 1 or an Ecto 1A.
Did you back it?
Hey, it's coming my way.
Where's it coming your way? You getting one?
I've got my Hell Charger there, and I said this on previous shows. So that's USB-C linked as well, as is the Ecto 1. So I'm gonna have to put them kind of opposite sides and plug them in so that they kind of do all that stuff. But yeah, I was, after seeing it at MTM, I was 100% behind it. I think it's a great HasLab, like so much stuff, especially if you back the deluxe one where you're getting like 7 figures, you're getting 2 lots of 2 lots of kind of car setups, you've got all the decals and that kind of stuff. Like it's a good HasLab, I think, in my opinion. But I know you're not a big fan of HasLabs, but it funded, so Ghostbusters people are happy, which means that Ghostbusters are now 4 for 4, 3 for 3.
Yeah, something like that.
Whatever it is, they've
packed
every single one. And I think that G.I. Joe have as well. So G.I. Joe and Ghostbusters. JB1 said, imagine Jacob back the Ghost and the Ghostbusters, mate. The Ghost too big.
Yeah, it's massive.
Beautiful, but too big. Way too big. I
think even I've just got to say, even me at my height of Star Wars collecting would never have got that. I don't do big things like that. I never have done. I've always kind of said, because it comes down to when like when you were on about your hot toys and stuff. I would never go that high with my collection just because I would rather be able to buy a bunch of stuff for that money rather than one individual item.
Yeah.
So like that's why I love doing what I do now. That's why I found this little niche that I'm loving, is because I'm able to spend like a decent amount of money but get loads of stuff for that money, and that's what I like. Whereas, yeah, I get the whole the ghost does look amazing, but I've got nowhere to put it, and it just costs too damn much.
No, exactly. So let's talk about our theme this week, because our theme this week's quite interesting. So it's like, do we all have Marvel/Star Wars fatigue? And so it's a good question, I think, to kind of ask, because Marvel and Star Wars have obviously been on the up and up since Disney took over. Since Disney took over, we've been absolutely flooded with content and series and movies and tie-ins, and then obviously comes with all that the merchandise and stuff. What did you make of this kind of question?
So for me, I've said this for a long time. I've had Star Wars fatigue now for a little while, but that's down to the community, not down to the projects. I've been loving the Star Wars projects, minus a couple. I've always been a fan of like the Ahsoka characters and the Clone Wars. So when they started bringing them into live action and Mandalorian, I'm all for it. Okay, I'm not bothered for Andor and these politically things they keep putting out. I'm not bothered about them. But yeah, Mando and stuff, I'm all for, and I'm loving the Star Wars franchise as a thing. It was the collecting community of Star Wars that put me off heavily.
Yeah.
And seeing the amount of, like, we haven't learned from our mistakes of the past. Like, we as a fan base ridiculed that poor Anakin kid and Jar Jar Binks as actor for years, and now we've kind of like even Anakin, and you've kind of come out the other side and gone, actually, it was decent, and we're sorry. But then people started doing it again to the new cast, and I'm like, no, I can't deal with the venomous spite towards all these characters.
The Star Wars community is definitely
the
Star Wars fandom is definitely one in its own. Do you know what I mean? There is a real like the Jar Jar Binks thing, for example, is how a community that is so into something be so vile towards something in it. Just doesn't make sense to me. Like there are, for me, it's always been Marvel comic books, for example, and DC, Marvel. And there are things that I didn't like, but it's kind of like, oh, okay, I don't like that, so I'm not going to watch that one, or I'm not going to be into that one. I'd never go on like a hate rant about it. It's like it's weird. It is weird.
So with me, I would like the height of it was my peak of Star Wars. I think was going to Galaxy's Edge, going back to Florida and seeing that for the first time and being absolutely blown away with what Disney had done there. But then when I came back, I was so excited. I bought the droid, I did the lightsaber, I filmed everything, I put those videos out, and the amount of negativity and hate that came through of people saying, "Ugh, Disney Star Wars." I'm like, no, it's Star Wars. Just because it's in a Disney park and Disney technically own it doesn't make it Disney's thing. Lucasfilm is still a company. They still run themselves. They're independent of Disney. They're just a subsidiary of Disney. Disney just owns the overall thing, but they still make their own projects. And it just seemed, I don't know, like I was so hyped, and then it just felt like such a negative blow to like everything that I was doing. And I was like, nah, I'm done. And I just stopped collecting Star Wars because the comments on there were so bad on my videos. And I think I dropped 3,000 followers. Well, the day I said I'm done with Star Wars, I dropped about 3,000 followers. And my thing was, I was pretty much like, well, if you're only here for that, I'm fine with that. Go away. I don't want you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want people that are here for me, not just for the random videos I'm putting out. So I'm cool with that. Bye-bye. See you later. And my channel has only grown since that. You know, I mean, it's only grown even bigger since. And I just don't think I could ever get back into Star Wars collecting now because of the way that was and that felt.
Yeah. Like for me with Star Wars, we talk about Star Wars at this particular moment, but for me with Star Wars, like I'm a fan of Star Wars. I like Star Wars. I grew up watching Star Wars. But the way that my collection is now, I would happily have like a Star Wars representation in my collection. I need one. There's 100%. I need somebody from Star Wars, some kind of Star Wars element in my collection. But that's it. Like I could have a Darth Vader figure, and that would be enough. That would be my Star Wars, and that's the difference between obviously how I collect now. That beforehand, my representation of Star Wars would be collecting all of the Black Series figures, or you know the 3 3/4 inch figures or something. But it was about volume, and it was like, well, I'm only really into Star Wars if I've got all of these Sith, and if I've got all of these Jedi's, and they've updated that one, so I need to swap this one for that one, and it just got very muddled. Whereas now it's kind of like, you know what, I could get one figure, maybe two, maybe five, like whatever. It doesn't need, but there's no need to have more than one. I can have one, and that's my representation of Star Wars. So yeah, but I don't like the negativity that comes with it. But I think my fatigue for Star Wars has come from the unnecessary overcomplication of the intertwining universes. Makes sense? For me, peak of Star Wars was towards the end of Clone Wars, beginning of Rebels, like that kind of time, because I was just loving the stories and I was loving the expanded universe, and it felt really not unique, but yeah, unique's maybe a good word for it, because not everyone watched it. Not everyone was into the animation, and I didn't watch Clone Wars when it started, so I was very much like, I'm not watching that. But then when there was like kind of 9 series deep, I was like, well, you know, maybe I should kind of give this a go. And I fell into it massively. And for me, that was the peak, because it was kind of like I'm seeing all these sub stories that mean nothing. They are literally like just stories and just episodes. And it was great. But then seeing the negativity that was from that, or how there were some people that, you know, classed themselves as diehard Star Wars fans, but didn't watch it because it's not real Star Wars, and it's like, oh shit, like, okay. But yeah, so I think that's where my kind of peak for Star Wars went, with that animated side.
That's the thing for me. It was Rebels that got me back into Star Wars. When Rebels came out, that massively drew me back in, because I loved the story between Kanan and Ezra, and it's because it was so fresh. It wasn't a Skywalker thing. It was nothing to do with Anakin and Obi-Wan and Luke. It was something new and fresh, and it was set in that familiar old school Star Wars timeline, and it felt like we were finally going forward.
Yeah. Rebels was an incredible series. Rebels was like the natural progression for Clone Wars. And when I say end of Clone Wars, beginning of Rebels, I mean that kind of whole arc.
Yeah, the crossover thing.
Rebels was incredible. And I don't know if we'll ever get as good as we got then. Because, you know, Bad Batch, for example, Bad Batch is very similar. It's done in the same style. It's got the same voices, same characters. But it doesn't feel like it's quite hit the mark.
Yeah.
Whereas Clone Wars and Rebels, Rebels probably more so. But there was loads of other animations that came out that didn't really go anywhere. But yeah, I don't know. For me, Star Wars, yeah, I'm waiting for something to really kind of get me past the fatigue of it. Like the Luke Skywalker cameo in Mando. Like Mando was very good, and the Luke Skywalker cameo in that at the end was like a jaw drop moment. But then where did I go from there? Like there was nowhere for me to go after that. So,
and I've got to say, I'll be the one to pull the trigger and say it. I do think the fatigue came a lot as well from Hasbro. There was only and again, I've got to say this because it's true. We have been collecting a very long time, and they do need to always release those core characters because that's how new people get into the line. I understand that. But it did seem to get to a point where with Star Wars, you only have so many characters to go. It's not like Marvel that has millions. Star Wars does only have maybe a few hundred characters to choose from, and that's being rich. So I mean, when you've already there was a golden era where we were getting like the New Hope versions, then the Return of the Jedi and Empire Strikes Back, and then they went back and did the prequels, and I had all those figures. My shelves were lined with them. I was so I really wanted the whole Jedi Order on a shelf. And then rather than give us the characters we really wanted and they made us wait nearly 15 years to get a Kia Mundi, and I was already out at that point. But if they'd have given me that earlier, would have kept me in, instead of giving me that same character of like how many Darth Vaders did we get and how many Darth Mauls did we get in 1 year? It was ridiculous. And they're still doing it now.
But you know what, this does move on to Marvel, and we'll kind of go on to that. But as a bridge, I think that's why I fell out of love with Black Series Legends as a main line to collect, because you've hit the nail on the head there when you say about the re-releasing characters and pushing out, characters we don't need and that kind of stuff. And it just kind of makes me feel like it's a little less like a collection. If that makes sense. There's not a collectible element to something that is mass produced and overpopulated. Like it's almost like, and this is my journey, not everybody's, but collecting Legends and Black Series, there was a hunt. There was a, like you said about the Jedi Order. Same could be said about Marvel, with certain characters and certain teams and stuff. And it was very much kind of like, I started collecting at this point, and this character came out this many years ago. I need to track one down. I need to bargain. I need to barter. I need to trade. I need to buy and all this kind of stuff. And then if things were coming out for us in the UK, we'd have to pre-order them, because it was like, okay, this character's coming out, whether it be Marvel or Star Wars or whatever, this character's coming out and it's coming out on this date. You would have to pre-order it, because if you didn't pre-order it, you wouldn't get it. And there was certain things that were like store exclusives in America. Like, remember when the Cuckoos come out? Like how mental everyone over here went.
That was insane.
Because they were a Walgreens exclusive, I think, or a Target. No, Walgreens. And we didn't get them, and our retailers couldn't get them. So it was a case of, in order to get one, you had to either know somebody or be visiting or just be very lucky in a trade. Whereas now it's so easy to get everything that fatigue's really hit hard for me as a representation for my collection, because I don't feel like I'm collecting. I feel like I'm gathering as opposed to collecting. And if you look at anything else, like comic books, trading cards, Funkos, what we were talking about earlier, there is a rarity or a exclusivity of having something. And we had that once upon a time with Marvel Legends and Star Wars Black Series that isn't there anymore. I think what makes it worse is that so much stuff ends up in the bargain bin and the reduced aisle and all the rest of it. So you'll see a character and you'll go, oh, look, that's first appearance Hulk, or that's Anakin Skywalker from Return of the Sith. You'll order it, you'll pay £35 for it, and within 2 weeks it's then reduced. Or it's in this flash sale or that flash sale or the Christmas sale, because obviously all the stores are overpopulated and a load of the collectors have kind of bought them, and then there's all these other ones sitting on the shelves, and then all of a sudden you kind of feel cheated a bit, because you're kind of like, well, I've been wanting that character, I've paid out for that character, and now you're kind of pretty much giving that character away. So I think the collection element of it definitely adds to the fatigue of it all. And Marvel is a prime example of that. When Infinity War Endgame were coming out, the Marvel Legends figures were few and far between. There'd be a couple per wave. The waves would be 6 months apart, and you would be like, I'm seeing this character on screen, or I know this character's in this movie coming up. I need a figure of it to go with this character and this character. Whereas now it's all just thrown at you. And I think the only exception to that rule for me is the Spider-Man No Way Home figures, because obviously we've still not completed that. They've announced the Lizard recently, but they've still not completed the full roster of characters from that movie. So there's still an element of, oh, I need that one. Like, when are you going to give us it? But yeah.
With Marvel, I was never really into the MCU stuff. I kind of had a few, but I kind of fell into it more than anything with those. I was always the comic book guy, and I think that's where it got muddled for me with Marvel Legends when it became too much, because then it became all about the MCU and lesser about the comic book characters.
Yep.
And there's somebody running a YouTube channel, and I know, and this is where we as collectors fall into the pitfall, because obviously we like me and you were doing it for ourselves, but also for like content and for getting reviews out and things like that. I fell in this pit trap of going, oh, people are like John Hood's just put, are you going to be getting the Black Series Skeleton Crew? You kind of feel like, oh, I need to get it because people want to see my reviews, my thoughts on it. And I ended up buying and selling so much, like within a day. Like I bought whole waves of figures and sold them off within like a few hours. And I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I'm reviewing things I don't even keep. It's stupid.
Yeah.
And no, I felt that way for a long time with Legends. That's inevitably why I got out, because originally I actually was only getting into Legends to collect X-Men. That was my thing, because X-Men were my comic growing up. And I had a massive X-Men collection at one point. And because they were constantly giving it wave after wave after wave of X-Men, so I was just collecting all the X-Men.
Yeah.
But then with the YouTube thing, I fell into the pitfall of, oh, I need to get that Spider-Man wave, that Daredevil wave, oh, a Netflix wave, oh, I'll get that.
Yeah.
And it didn't even fit with what I was collecting. And then Star Wars did the same thing. If you look back on my channel, I actually started collecting Star Wars 3 3/4 inch, not 6 inch. Mm-hmm. And I was buying all the 5 POA figures like I had when I was a kid, and I was buying up a lot of the like Funko stuff. And then somewhere down the line, I got into Black Series, and then it just got so muddled. And I ended up falling into this line that I don't think I truly ever loved, if you get me. I enjoyed putting the content out. It was fun. And I enjoyed, the chase and the thrill of the hunt of getting these things, like you say. But I don't think I was ever truly in love with those figures, ever.
A big fatigue for me came as well, because I really enjoyed the action figure photography and the customizing element to it as well. Like, that was a big thing for me a few years back. The action figure photography, still very much enjoy that, but I've kind of gone down a different angle with that, and I don't do as much anymore. But the customizing side was a lot of fun, and I used to really enjoy that, because you would see a character on screen or in a comic book, and you'd go, oh, actually, if I get this part and paint this part and use this head on this, I can kind of put that together. And there was an element of, not race, but there was a lot of customizers out there that we would all kind of put out similar figures at the same time. And it would all be like, oh, that's really good. Oh, I like what they've done there. I hadn't even thought about that. This is really cool. And yeah, and there was websites and there were Facebook groups that were dedicated to kind of customs of the week and all this kind of stuff. Whereas now they're pushing it out so fast that if you're customizing something that you've seen on screen or in a comic book, you're almost throwing those figures away, because by the time you finished it, they've announced that they're doing an official one. And so, yeah, so I kind of stopped doing a lot of the customization, because I was kind of like, I'm just, what's the point? Like, they're going to put one out, so I'll just wait. And even with the comic books now, they're throwing figures out for really new characters. That Helverine is a prime example. People would have been all over that as a custom, because they would have been like, this is a cool character, we're not going to see it for a while, and they put it out almost straight away. So that kind of hit the fatigue element for me as well. But so focusing on X-Men, you all remember how rare it was to get like a animated Rogue, like a Rogue in the green and yellow, and it wasn't even Rogue from the animated series.
Do you want to know how much I paid for my original one? Secondhand.
Are we talking about the Marvel Legends one? The
Marvel Legends Rogue, the original one, the Juggernaut Wave Rogue back in the day, when that was the only Rogue available. I paid £70 on the aftermarket for that figure.
Yep. Make you feel better, I sold mine for more than that. Not because I put it out that I put it on eBay and people bid for it, and mine sold for, I think it ended up being about £81. Somebody bought it. But what's the new Rogue?
There isn't one now, is there? Not
No.
anymore.
No, there isn't a figure that people chase after.
I mean, there's only the only one figure I know that I'll admit I sold for a lot of money to someone in the groups, and that was, do you remember the black and silver Warpath I had? It was an old Hasbro Toy Biz like crossover legend.
Yeah.
I sold that to someone for 90. I bought it for 100, and I bought the box set for 120, but I sold that figure on its own for a lot.
But that's an older figure. I'm talking about which figure has come out recently.
Oh, that has become like the
one that collectors all chase after. There isn't one.
There isn't one. No.
There's nothing that's been released in the last couple of years, 3 or 4 years, that people are like, I need that figure, because there's so many of them out there. Because people are either collecting them quickly and selling them on, or they're putting so many of them out there that you can pick them up in sales and you can pick them up in job lots and stuff like that. So, and I think that's one of the reasons there's that fatigue, because there isn't a unicorn for people to chase after that kind of keeps you in a hobby as such. And I think that for me anyway, that for me a lot of it was the chase, that if I was going to complete a collection, it was going to be a journey, not just not just a kind of quick one. So, Dan's in the chat. VHS Daredevil is now over £100 on eBay. True, very true. But there's been a lot of Daredevils. There's been a lot of red Daredevils that have come out, and that's people. If people are kind of completionists and they want the VHS version, then fair play. But a lot of collectors will now go, I want a red suited Daredevil. That one's that much, so I'll get this one. And that's kind of my point with the Rogue element. Is that
there was only one Rogue at the time. At the time, there was only the one Rogue. You couldn't buy an alternative. It was either that or you kit bashed one.
Yeah. So, and that's where I think it is. But I think that does have an effect. So for me, like the big thing was the movies. When the big movies were coming out, and you had the like the Infinity Wars and the End Games and stuff like that, it was exciting to see which characters were being done and which are they going to do this character. Like, remember the Children of Thanos, when they all came out, they came out long after were announced, kind of a little while after the movies and stuff like that, and they didn't all come out in one. They did put them in a box set eventually, but to start with, there was a Build-A-Figure, there was a 2-pack, there was a single card release. Actually, no, I think there was 2 of them were on single card release. One was in a 2-pack and one was as a Build-A-Figure. So in order to get the Children of Thanos, you had to kind of collect that wave, you had to get that box set, you had to get that single pack. And then they obviously released it as a box set as well. But that was exciting. It was exciting to kind of go, because you're kind of tied in with the movie and you were tied in with the figures and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I don't know. That's kind of where I think the fatigue comes from.
Yeah.
For me, anyway.
For me, Marvel died with the Infinity War hype.
Yeah, see, the Marvel Studios hasn't done itself many favors since Infinity War.
Once we got to the point where we had all the characters on screen together, there was literally no going back from that. I think that was their greatest error.
Yeah. But you know what? I will eat a little bit of humble pie here, because I've recently gone back and watched some of the older films while I'm like setting my room up and stuff, like to have something on in the background. And when I say older films, I mean like post Infinity War films, the ones that did get a bad rap or didn't get as much hype. And they're all actually really good. Like they're all decent films that, I really enjoyed, and I enjoyed more going back and watching. But I just think everyone was comparing it to Infinity War. They were waiting for the next Infinity War, that it kind of never really recovered. And we've had a couple of like massive hype. So like the Spider-Man No Way Home, for example, massive hype. Deadpool and Wolverine, again, massive hype. But the fact that Deadpool and Wolverine even make fun of the fact that the Marvel Universe is kind of going down the multiverse, you know that it's not been good since Endgame or Infinity War, like, you know, and they make all those jokes in the movie, says a lot.
Those two films that you mentioned, yeah, they got massive hype, but they were also big crossover movies, just like Infinity War and Endgame, and the ones that have like Civil War is always the one that sticks out for people as well. Those movies where we finally see all the characters together are the ones that do well. When you start trying to then do, oh, we're going to do a Doctor Strange movie, and it's called The Multiverse of Madness, but there's only really Scarlet Witch in it. And that doesn't feel like it's got the same legs and hype. They tried to do it with with Xavier, and they've tried to kind of recapture that, but they've never truly recovered. I honestly still think that the Avengers storyline should have ended with the death of Thanos, because all the characters went their own ways, they did their own thing. They wanted to do this whole Thanos is dead, but we're all not right. We're now all battle scarred and wounded, and we need these stories to tell what happened next. We didn't need those. Like the last Guardians movie felt pointless. It just felt like it was a way of saying goodbye to Peter Quill. And it's like, I don't need to see that. Like, that's not something I need to see.
That's one that I've recently gone back and watched, and I was like, you know what? It's actually a much better film than I gave it credit for the first time around. Like, I enjoyed it the first time around. I completely agree with what you're saying, but going back and watching it now, I'm kind of like, you know what? That's a cool chapter. That's a cool chapter to the story. But at the time, I had so much expectation and wanted so much more that I don't think I gave it the credit it deserved. But
yeah,
you know, and things like Wakanda Forever as well. You know, Wakanda Forever is another one that was fantastic, and at the time I loved it, but going back and watching it again, I like it even more than I did at the time. But yeah, the Guardians Christmas special we've already had on like 5 or 6 times in the house. That's classic for me. That is a classic for me. Let me have a look. There's comments popping up here and I'm missing them. Jack Addison said, I think post-Endgame MCU content is still high quality. The issues it has, it keeps setting up so many different directions for Thanos-style arcs and haven't followed up with any of them. Yeah, don't disagree. I actually watched Ant-Man and the Wasp. No, Ant-Man Quantumania again. And the Kang story, for example, was, you know, he's gone. He's just gone. He's just left me. But the Kang story is a prime example of that kind of different direction that they don't follow up on. And I think that there would have been, I think there was ways of continuing the Kang story. But yeah. Geek Fusion TV said, as a 40+ year fan of Marvel and Star Wars, I personally will never have fatigue. However, I do get tired of the crap they put out compared to what these franchises used to be. Which is exactly the kind of point I think we're trying to say, is that the word fatigue that we're using is getting bored of what's out there now, like how it's put out there now. So I will always be a massive Marvel DC comic book fan. Like, that's my thing. You know, if somebody's going to buy me a present, it will be related to some kind of comic book, some kind of superhero, and it will be a home run as a present. But buying into the hype of everything all at once, I think, is the fatigue that we're seeing in a lot of collectors. I don't even know where Sorrell's gone. He just went. Geek Fusion TV also said, hopefully they will get back to making good content like they used to. Yes, we'll get that. Dan Who again in the chat. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is Rocket Story. Yes, it is Rocket Story, obviously, but it is a send off to Peter Quill as well. Right at the end, we see that little thing. But then there's rumors that there's a follow up Peter Quill Star-Lord story anyway. But yes, getting back to this, hopefully they'll get back to making good content like they used to. But you know what? The hype for excuse me, the hype for the Tobey Maguire films, for example, when I was younger, I remember being in Times Square, for example, and seeing the poster in Times Square for, I think it was Spider-Man 2, maybe. But just that almost kind of starstruck kind of loss of breath. I don't even know how to explain it, but seeing that up on the Times Square, this huge poster, seeing Spider-Man represented in a sequel, in a follow-up movie, when we hadn't had anything before that. We'd had Spider-Man 1, which was obviously phenomenal, and then seeing this poster for what was going to be a sequel, there was such an excitement to that element. Whereas nowadays we're kind of always expecting something. We're always expecting a follow-up. We're always expecting a sequel or a trilogy or a crossover. That we're expecting that the whole way along. I was just saying, Sorrel, that you basically just got up and went, and I didn't know where you went. But Geek Fusion said about getting back to making good content like they used to, and I was saying that the excitement of seeing like posters for things like Spider-Man 2, when there was no universe, there was no, extended story. So seeing a sequel had been greenlit was huge, and that was where the excitement was for me. Whereas now they put, Shelley said, Amazon delivery?
No.
But something comes out now, so we get something out from Marvel or Star Wars, and almost instantly people are talking about what it's going to cross over with, or what the sequel is going to be, or where the storyline is going to go, or all that kind of stuff. Whereas back in the day, you got a film and that you were excited for that. I remember one of the biggest ones for me excuse me, one of the biggest ones for me, and hold the applause before you get into the when I tell you what film it was, but Superman Returns, right? When Superman Returns was announced, and we just got the little drip fed pictures of what it was going to be and seeing little snippets of it, the excitement that there was going to be another Superman film, that DC were coming back with another film, just blew me away. And I remember me and my friend Ben, I was out in the States at the time, and we were Googling, and this was kind of back when the internet was in its early days, and I don't even know if it was Googling back then, it might have been Ask Jeeves. I don't know, it was, I don't know, but we were looking up like the poster for Superman Returns and seeing this image of Superman almost silhouetted in this yellow sky, and obviously, if you know Superman, he gets his powers from the sun and stuff, was just breathtaking. Like absolutely breathtaking to know that we were going to get a continuation of that Superman story. Okay, the film didn't necessarily live up to the hype that was built. It wasn't the best, but the excitement for it was there. Yeah. We don't get that nowadays. I genuinely don't think we get that nowadays, because we expect to see a television series or a spin-off or a sequel or a crossover. It's the joke with the actors now is you get a job in the Marvel universe and you're set. Like you're there. So
I think one thing they fall into the trap of, in my opinion, is there is such a history with Marvel. There's so many thousands of comics, but not every single one of them needs to be a movie. And we've now fallen into this trap where we seem to need an update on every single little thing.
Yeah.
Whereas before, if you think about how it first started, we didn't get that. We got what? Captain America, the first Avenger, Iron Man, Thor, and they all weren't connected. They were all individual stories, but they built up to something.
No.
And then the Avengers movies weren't set one after another.
No. The Avengers
apart.
The build up to the Avengers movie was probably the last time I experienced the hype that I'm trying to talk about, because we got Iron Man, and then there was that little after credit kind of cameo, and then we got with Nick Fury, and then we got Captain America, and then we got Thor, and then obviously in there as well we got, I think Hulk came second, but that was obviously a different studio, so it wasn't quite tied in. But then we saw Robert Downey Jr., so it was tied in. But yeah, it was all these kind of things. It was like, wow, are they actually building up to what we think they're building up to? And then Avengers was announced, and they were bringing all these characters together. And it was just mind-blowing. And then to see him, I mean, I remember one of, if we're talking Marvel, one of my favorite scenes to this day is, and I'm trying to think what film it is. I don't even know what film it is. I think it might be the first Avengers film, where you've got Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man facing off against each other in the woods.
Yep.
And it's the first time you see these three on screen together.
Yep.
It's like the weight in that was just incredible. And it wasn't it's a good scene, like the whole fight and the shield and the blasts and all that kind of stuff. But compared to some of the fight scenes and stuff we see now, it wasn't huge, but at the time it was brilliant. And that to me is still, when I see the three of them stood in the woods, that still like sends shivers. I'm still kind of like, that was it. That was awesome for me. Just very quickly, Joby1 said he wasn't bad as Supes. He wasn't. I actually thought he was really good at Superman. I just think it was a really bad script. I think he was done dirty. It made up for it in the Arrowverse. There we go.
So I think as well, what they need for me to get it back on track now, they need to forget about us, right? They need to move forward with Miles Morales, Robbie Reyes, the younger characters. Like they've been slowly introducing like Kate Bishop, and they've done nothing really with them. They've got Miss Marvel, and they need to move with these newer young Avengers, and they can complement them with characters like Miles Morales, Robbie Reyes, some of the like Magic and some of the other characters from the X-Men that are younger, and build up a whole new franchise for the next 10 years based around these newer characters.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think we'll hopefully recapture that same thing.
Yeah. But I think that to kind of clarify our point about fatigue, I think it's the oversaturation of stuff. You know, the oversaturation of merchandise and figures available and movies and crossovers and tie-ins. I think that is what the fatigue is. And I think it's almost a case of we almost need to kind of be starved a little of stuff.
Yeah.
For it to be exciting again. Like, and I do get I do get it from a kind of studio's point of view, that if they cast somebody as Spider-Man and they work really well, Tom Holland, for example, they don't want to wait 10 years to do a follow-up because he'll be completely different. But look at Hugh Jackman in Wolverine. Like, he's changed over time, but people were just as hyped to see him in Deadpool as they were to see him in the last however many X-Men films. Yeah. John Hood said there as well, growing up, there was a 3-year gap between Star Wars movies. There is a saturation. I miss the anticipation of a new adventure. And I think that kind of summarizes the point we're trying to say here. Is that anticipation? It's that excitement. It's that build up, as opposed to just kind of expecting something.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm just trying to catch up on the comments there. But yeah, it's I don't know. Like, I will always be a Star Wars fan. I will always be a Marvel fan. I'll always be a DC fan. Like, that is never going to change. That's always going to be my interest. But I think when you think a lot of these things, their roots are based in comic books. Just because you're a Marvel comic book fan doesn't mean you read every single Marvel comic book, and doesn't mean you complain about a Marvel comic book that you have no interest in reading, or expect that comic book to cross over with a comic book you're reading because, well, I'm reading this one, so crossover. Yeah. I don't know what Beth said, but she said, me and Shelley should send SuperSorrell toilet seats. What? Okay.
I'm guessing that's a Skibbity reference in some form or another.
I think so. You are the Skibbity Sorrel. Yeah. See, Joby, when you said there, bringing back Daredevil, and I've heard they want to bring back the rest of them as well. Yeah. See, it excites me because it's something I enjoyed, but then at the same token, I'm kind of like, you know, do I want to see more? Like, the answer is yes. I do definitely want to see more of Charlie Cox as Daredevil, but I don't know. NC Gujira, sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Said, how awesome would it be for Hulk fans if Incredible Hulk shows up to fight the Red Hulk in the new Captain America movie? Yes, but then also that kind of contradicts the what we're saying here, because obviously if would it be awesome? Yes, it would. But this is the first time we've seen Red Hulk. So let's see Red Hulk, then let's see Red Hulk again, and then let's see Red Hulk in something else, and then let's cross them over. Like, let's build that anticipation up. Don't throw out what you expect us to want to see in that first inclusion. Like, give us some anticipation. That's my thought.
100%.
Yeah. Jack Addison said yes. Plus, because of how much new stuff they've started and not paid off, the next Avengers movie could have a roster of characters the same size as a portal scene from Endgame. Yeah, I know, but basically just people that haven't had a payoff. Like, look at Eternals. Like, what? Okay, it's Eternals did not land well, and people will quite happily forget about Eternals. But then the mistake the Eternals made were they made too many references to what else was coming. So obviously we had not Jon Snow. Jon Snow's from from Game of Thrones. Black Knight at the end of it, and we had Blade kind of talking to him. So off camera, Blade was there. So all people kind of talk about with Eternals is like, well, what about those two payoffs? Like, what's coming from that? Whereas if they didn't tie that in, they could have just kind of let that disappear into the history. I don't know. It's a difficult one. But I mean, I'm still collecting Marvel. It's still all there. But yeah, fatigue.
It is.
Yeah.
All right, mate. I'm gonna have to call it because I'm not feeling too good.
No. I know. I got that.
Something's not right.
I got that.
I'm gonna have to go.
So we are going to end up very, very quickly. We're going to round up a little bit early tonight. Mr. SuperSorrell is not feeling that great. So we will say goodnight now. Don't faint on me. Let's at least end the show. If you've been watching on catch up, very quickly, Sorrel, what is it they need to put in the
use hashtag catch up crew.
There we go. Thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in this week. We will be back next week. Don't forget to tune in. Thank you very much. We do appreciate you. Until next week, keep it geek.
Game over, man. It's game over.
Like, share, subscribe, don't miss out.